Okay, hello, welcome to the video. My name is Ed. I'm here in the UK, in case you couldn't tell by my accent, but I've been doing online income, like trying to make money online for the past almost 2 years now. And this, we're talking about today, the business model which I found probably 6 months ago and only really started taking seriously around 3 months ago. I've been doing very many different business models. I've been doing TikTok dropshipping, I've been doing TikTok organic. I even did, if you guys know, Fortnite coaching back in the day. I actually made a decent amount of money from that. I was probably making about £1,000 a month from that at the age of like 15, which is pretty good. I've done a couple of other things which I haven't done so well. But this business model which we're talking about today is by far my favourite business model. If you guys know you're trying to escape the 9 to 5, which a lot of people are, they're just trying to find an income online where they can replace or leave their jobs with. You might find with these other business models like dropshipping where it'll be very, very up and down. You'll find your months going like this, peak high there, and then the next month it'll go down all the way, and then you'll sit there for a few months and you'll have another high. And that is exactly what this business model which I'm talking about today isn't, because it's incredibly consistent. Whereas with dropshipping, you're having to provide the traffic yourself in some way or another. So me, myself, I was doing TikTok organic around a year ago. Before I found this business model, and my months would exactly look like this. I'd have a really high month, and then the next month I'd basically make no money at all. So no exaggeration, I think one of the months I made like 15,000, then 2 months later I was making £600 a month. It was absolutely mental. It was incredibly up and down, and that is exactly what I hated about the business model. I just wanted something which I could work on and build up over time. And this business model is incredibly consistent. It's probably one of the most consistent business models for generating income and generating cash flow, for which you can replace your jobs with. If you want to know a little bit about me, I'm 17 years old, been making about £5,000 a month roughly from this business model in profit, of course, and I've been doing it for, I don't know, a good few months now. I haven't been taking it seriously too long. I've really dialed in since the start of this year, and I've been making a lot more money because of it. My stores have been doing a lot better. But yeah, let's talk about the business model. Let's get right into it. So, first question, what do I sell on? I sell on Etsy. You guys might have heard of the platform, and you're probably thinking, oh, he's talking about Etsy. Well, what is Etsy? The first thing which comes to your mind when I say Etsy is probably female and 40 years old woman. Basically, those are the two things which you think about when I say Etsy. And that is essentially what the platform majority is. However, it's not just the 40-year-old woman on Etsy. It's not just the 40-year-old woman at all. There's many different like demographics. There's obviously, of course, the far majority is female woman. Female woman, yeah, nice one. The large majority of people on Etsy is 40-year-old women or like 30 to 50-year-old women. But that doesn't mean that the platform is like really bad for you, because it's not meant for you. All it means is that you've got to compete against these 40-year-old women which are selling on Etsy as well, which only makes it easier when you got to compete against a 40-year-old woman on her store and you want to sell the same products. I guarantee you, I'd be very impressed if you can sell, like, if you make less than a 40-year-old woman who's also selling on Etsy. It's incredibly easy to beat these 40-year-old women and make more money than they are, because obviously they're not super techie like us young people are. And at the end of the day, a 40-year-old woman is not going to be committed as, I can't speak English. A 40-year-old woman is not going to be as committed as I am into actually making money and making this my income, because 40-year-old woman, she probably works at the Co-op down the road as well, and she just sells these LGBTQ bracelets on Etsy. Yeah, anyway, that's what Etsy is. Marketplace that you can sell online. So Etsy versus Shopify. You've probably heard of the Shopify platform, and I'm going to explain the difference between Etsy versus Shopify, because a lot of gurus out here talk about Shopify dropshipping and how Shopify dropshipping is one of the best business models. And I tell you, I've done both Shopify and Etsy, and I find Etsy 10 million times better, without a doubt. I did Shopify for around 1 year. I did like 25k in sales, and then I've done Etsy for a lot less time, and I've done about 3 times the amount of money that I made on Shopify from Etsy in half the amount of time. So I'm making a lot more money from Etsy than I was on Shopify. What is the actual difference? So Shopify is basically where you create your own website. So Shopify, all they do is they just give you this, they give you access to their page where you can create a website on, and you can take orders on that website as well. So all Shopify does, it gives you the ability to build your own website. What does that mean though? You have to bring your own traffic. It doesn't give you any sort of traffic themselves. The only thing which you might get is some from Google, but this is very low numbers. I think probably for the, 12 months that I had a Shopify store open for, I probably only got like 100 visits or 200 visits from Google at all for the whole time, which would maybe generate me 3 or 4 sales at least, on the low end. So Google traffic doesn't really bring you a lot of traffic. You're going to have to bring customers to your website yourself. So you're going to have to find a way to do that, whether you want to do that by TikTok organic, you can do it many different ways, social media, thousands of different ways which you can promote your website. But yeah, it's a lot more difficult to get traffic, and it does cost money as well, or it costs time. It either costs time or money to generate traffic to your website, which is a lot more difficult. With Shopify, you do have to be a lot more of a jack of all trades, rather than with Etsy, you're just a jack of one trade. Because with Etsy, all you've got to do is list an item, and then they bring the traffic for your store. So Etsy just generates the traffic, and essentially what happens with Etsy is, as your products start making more sales, so as you start making more sales on your store, your listings are going to start being shown to more customers that are coming onto the platform. So as you start making more sales on Etsy, your listings are also your store is also being shown to more and more people on the platform as you start to make more sales. So what will essentially happen with most Etsy stores is you'll have your start will look something like this. So your start of the store will be very slow, it'll be around here. You'll be making maybe one sale every few days, you'll be making one sale every week, and then eventually it will start picking up as you start working harder and harder in the business. It will start picking up, and then it will ramp up and up and up like this. It will just accelerate, it will accelerate up and up and up, and it'll just keep going upwards because, as I said earlier, as you make more sales, you get more visits to your store, which obviously brings you more customers again. So it's like more sales, you get more visits to your store, and you make more money. It's like a literal snowball effect, which is building over time. And the best thing is you don't have to bring your own traffic. You don't have to bring traffic like you do to Shopify, which is what makes it so inconsistent with Shopify, is that you have to bring your own traffic to your store. Obviously, there's probably some people watching this who are thinking, oh, I make a lot of money on Shopify, I do things very consistently. It's like I run this one's ads per month and I get, on average, I don't know, 5,000 to 3,000 sales per month, something like this. Obviously, Shopify can be consistent, but most of the time, especially if you're new to the business model or you're new to online money, online income, you're not going to make consistent money with Shopify. It's going to be very up and down. However, if that's something you like, then yeah, sure, go for it. Then Etsy won't be your business model because Etsy is very, very stable. The only time Etsy changes is in Q4, which is the last quarter of the year, which is October, November, December. So those 3 months are the highest months of the year by far. So I think my store last year, I probably made double in those months what I'd normally make on a normal month throughout the rest, Q1, 2, 3, and 4. But honestly, I haven't been in the game long enough. A lot of people say that in Q4 of the year, you're going to make as much money as you did in Q1, 2, 3 combined. So you're going to make 3 times as much money in Q4 in that Christmas, Black Friday period than you would in any other time of the year. But anyway, that's not so important. The most important thing that you need to know is that Etsy is a lot more simple than Shopify is. At Shopify, you have to be a jack of all trades. You have to do marketing. You have to find the products yourself. Of course, with Etsy, you have to do the same thing. But you don't have to bring the customers to your store. They bring the customers to your store automatically. Traffic is generated for you. Traffic for you. You don't have to worry about it at all. That's one of the most difficult things about Shopify is the marketing. Getting profitable ads is incredibly difficult. Obviously with Etsy as well, you can run ads on your Etsy store. However, this is only a plus. You don't have to run ads. You'll get the visits automatically. If your listings are good, you don't need to run ads at all, and you'll still make a decent amount of money. All right, let's talk about what is the Etsy platform. So we touched on this a little bit earlier. I want to let you guys know about what the actual Etsy platform is, because some of you, probably the majority of people watching this video are men, and you don't actually use Etsy at all. You just think it's like a marketplace for women. Let me tell you what Etsy is. So what items are actually sold on Etsy? So let's go. Etsy, what items are sold? Majority of items are like, I'd probably say, it's probably 50-50. So there's a majority of like clothing or custom home goods items, and then the other half is jewelry. There's a lot of jewelry on the platform, like so much jewelry. There's probably like 50 million worth of jewelry sold on the platform every single day in total. So jewelry is one of the biggest niches on the platform. Also like customized home goods. So this could be your mugs, so like mugs, posters, what else goes in your house that you can customize? So anything that goes in your kitchen, so even something as simple as a custom kitchen spoon. People are putting like celebrity faces on kitchen spoons. I saw a store the other day which was making about £10,000 a month, and they were just literally putting a celebrity's face on a spoon, and the celebrity's face was on the spoon, and they sent it to the customer, and then that was basically the business model. But it could be something as simple as that. Like with Etsy, it doesn't have to be complicated at all. The products can be very, very simple, and yeah. So anyway, custom home goods, custom clothing as well can be sold on the platform. It's very common. You'll probably see like the custom hoodies for mums, custom t-shirts for boys. A lot of the time you might see these, especially if you're from the USA, it's quite a big niche, like funny t-shirts. But yeah, there's a bunch of different niches, but I'd say the main three things is jewelry, custom home goods, and custom clothing. And these are probably the main things which you need to worry about. And of course, I don't actually sell in any of these two. I don't sell clothing or jewelry. Everything I sell is custom home goods at the moment. I'm planning to expand into clothing later along the line. But to be honest, if you are looking to go into Etsy, I do think home goods is probably one of the best niches to get into. Why do I think it's so good? So what is home goods? Home goods is anything which goes in your house at all. So anything like, I don't know, poster, wardrobe, anything in my room right now. I've got mouse pads, there's custom mouse pads on Etsy, custom desks, even I've got an F1 steering wheel down here as well, which is for the F1 game. But even custom items, I searched F1 steering wheel on the platform, and there was a product which was making like 3 or 4 sales a day, which is, I don't know, £1,000 profit per month from this one steering wheel button which goes on my F1 steering wheel, which is crazy. Like there's just so many different random items which you can sell on Etsy, so you don't have to restrict yourself to say, I only want to sell jewelry, I only want to sell clothing, I only want to sell this poster. You can't restrict yourself like that. It's very, very widespread. As soon as you get on the platform, you just start searching for a bunch of different things. You're going to find out how many different random items there are on Etsy. And literally anything can be sold. Okay, so we've discovered what the Etsy platform is. We're going to talk about the two main business models which happen on Etsy. And I've done both of them. And I'm going to explain to you why I think one is better than the other. So one is which you've definitely heard of, dropshipping. So on Etsy, you can do dropshipping. So what is dropshipping? Just to explain for those who don't know, dropshipping is essentially a business model. It's just a business model. It's not like a scam. A lot of people call it a scam or a rip-off. All it is a business model. Every single business model works in a very similar way to dropshipping. However, dropshipping is basically you're a middleman and you just charge a higher price for the item which you bought it for. So dropshipping, you've got the product here in A, so it doesn't have to be from China. You can also dropship from local sites. I know a lot of people on Etsy actually dropship items from like Wayfair or eBay onto the Etsy platform, and then they'll charge like double the price for it. Happens a lot of the time. But anyway, the basics of business model, the basic business model of dropshipping is A is your supplier, and you ship directly from supplier to B, who is your customer. And what happens here is, what happens before A is that customer orders. So all you do is customer places the order, then you place the order from the supplier, and then the supplier ships it direct to your customer. Simple as, you never see the product, or there's essentially no risk with dropshipping, because all you do is you just place the order when you actually get an order for the product, and you can get your images from online. So there's many different ways to get your images. However, I do not suggest doing dropshipping on Etsy. Why? It is because it is banned. You aren't allowed to dropship on the platform. It's not allowed at all. And what happens if they find you dropshipping? Or how do they even catch you? How do they know that I'm actually dropshipping? First of all, the main reason people get caught out for dropshipping is because of your product images. Etsy has a very good system which is called the handmade policy, and what this will do, whenever you put up a product onto Etsy, what it does, it basically checks all of your product images, every single one, and it checks all over the internet and all over the Etsy platform to see if those images have been listed onto the Etsy platforms before, or they're on anywhere else on the internet. Because basically what that's doing is it's just checking, are you actually reselling, are you selling the same items as everyone else? Because that's not what you want. So what it will do is, as soon as you list an item, if say you've taken your images from AliExpress, what it will do is as soon as you list the item, it will detect that you've taken your images from AliExpress. Then what it will do is it will just take down your listing. It will take down your listing, and then you'll get given a warning, and you get very few warnings on the platform. You used to get a lot more warnings. They used to be a lot more lenient, but at the moment you can only get like 1 or 2 warnings, and then your store gets banned and shut down completely. And not only that, As soon as you get banned once on Etsy, it's incredibly difficult to get back up on the platform again. And you also can't get your store unsuspended if you have been dropshipping. Of course, people have got their methods, whatever, insiders, but we're not talking about that today. Let's talk about, so why do I not suggest Etsy dropshipping? It's because it's so bannable. I used to do Etsy dropshipping, and the main thing is you just spend most of your time just making new stores. You don't actually spend more time making products or listing products, because with dropshipping, the money is very easy to generate. It's very easy to generate quite a lot of money, but your stores really don't last that long, so you're doing a lot of work for like the instant return. You're not doing any work for any long-term return because your store isn't actually going to last long. Most dropshipping stores nowadays only last 1 or 2 months. So imagine that you're doing a good 3-4 weeks of hard work, creating the listings, scaling up your store. It starts making a lot of money. You feel great. Your store starts making like $3,000 a month, and you're like, oh my god, this is the best business model. How have I not figured this out before? And then the next day you wake up, you look at your emails, and it says Etsy store suspended, and that's all of your work for the past month gone down the drain. You feel great, you had a massive high because you started making a lot of money. This was your first money online, and now, no joke, you will feel like you want to kill yourself because you've just lost everything that you've worked for, and it feels like you've lost everything. You thought you were going to escape the matrix, to say, and now you've woken up and your Etsy store is suspended, and it's over. That's what it feels like, at least. And that is one of the reasons why I don't suggest anyone dropships on the platform anymore. It's just not sustainable. A lot of people do dropshipping and they just create new stores and they just got virtual assistants to do everything for them, and I'm not into all that. I don't like working on something for a short time return. Everything, all of my work at the moment is basically setting me up in the future to make a lot more money. Everything I do at the moment is going to benefit me massively in the future as well. So, for example, just to put it into context, everything I do in a day, so most of my work in a day is just creating new products to sell on Etsy. And for every new product I sell on Etsy, I make on average about £30 a month from in profit. So every time I put a new listing onto Etsy, on average, that listing is going to make me around £30 a month in profit. And on a good day, if that's my focus, if it's all I want to get done, then I can easily make 30 listings a day. So it's really that simple. All I do is just create listings, and those listings just generate me money. So if you want to do the calculation there, 30 listings a day generates me about £1,000 a month. So it's really that simple. It's not super complicated, especially with the business model I'm doing. As I said, it just sets me up for the long term. Dropshipping, you work a lot of hours, and then you'll be like, oh my god, I'm making a lot of money, and then boom, gone, everything gone. Print on demand. This is the business model that I do. POD, print on demand. It's the same thing. POD is an abbreviation for print on demand. What is print on demand? Print on demand. So instantly you're thinking, oh, so he just prints things when he gets the product, right? That's what it is. Print on demand. So a lot of people confuse print on demand, and they think print on demand is only printed items. So t-shirts is like a printed item because you print something onto it. Like a mug, you print something onto a mug. That's not what I do at all. However, that is print on demand and can be done on the platform. That's not personally what I do. I think it's a lot better to sell customized items. So this can be anything which is customized. As I mentioned before, someone was wood burning someone's like face, and it's celebrity's face, into a wooden spoon. And I do very similar things to that. I have various machines in the room which you can't actually see right now, and let's just check it's still recording. It is still recording, fantastic. And there's various machines in the room at the moment which you can't see at all. Because that is for a reason, because if you see the machines that I have, then you'd be like, okay, he sells this product, and then you could go and make a lot of money from it. In these e-com spaces, we don't really talk about what products we sell in particular, because that's very confidential information. If I told you what items I sell, then you could go ahead and sell the exact same thing and make quite a lot of money from it. So anyway, let's talk about print on demand. So print on demand is essentially any customizable item. So this can be wood burning, just to give you a couple of ideas. So wood burning, you could do this on like a box, and you could, or anything, like wooden spoon box, anything that's wooden, like the coasters, just trying to think off the top of my head what's in my room. Wardrobes, you can wooden engrave them, like literally anything that's wooden, you can engrave, and it is probably on the Etsy platform already. You can probably see products, like if you just think of a random product in your head, wooden mug, and then it's going to be engraved on Etsy, someone's going to have a customization on it already. So, wood burning, embroidery is a good one. So a lot of people, very, very good niche. If you want to start selling on Etsy and you want to start making these products yourself, embroidery onto towels is an incredibly good niche. I've been saying this for a long time within my group. I say the best thing I can seriously to do if you want to sell on print on demand is sell embroidered towels. There's just so much volume in that niche. Like that, it makes like £10,000 a month in revenue, but there's just not enough sellers. Like there's just only one person selling these custom towels, but they just make so much sales. Like no competition, but a lot of demand, which is exactly what you want to look for. So embroidery, engraving. So engraving, what would an engraved item be? Glass. If you just search engraved glasses on Etsy, you'll see thousands of them. What else can be customized? And obviously the printing stuff. So printing can be basically t-shirts, clothing, and so posters, like mugs, whatever else. So posters, mugs, anything which can actually be physically printed. So printing onto, like with an actual printer. Anyway, I don't know too much about printing, I don't do that stuff, so I was trying to think of some way to add it into the video and think of things that are printed, but I actually have no idea, so I don't do that stuff. I do a couple of other things which aren't on this list. But yeah, so these are probably the main things which you can actually make money with print on demand by doing. So wood burning, embroidery, engraving and printing. These are probably the biggest 4 money generating niches of print on demand on the Etsy platform, I believe, by far. So this is essentially what POD is, and there's 2 ways which you can go about doing print on demand itself. So print on demand, you can either make the items yourself, which is what I do. So I have a couple of other people as well who help me out with the making of the items, so I don't have to do everything myself, because otherwise that would be basically impossible. So there's 2 ways which you can do it. So you can either do print on demand, you can do the items yourself, so yourself or in-house. So in-house basically means the company who sells the items also produces them and customizes them. So you can do them yourself or in-house, or you can outsource it. So this is technically drop shipping as well. So what you can do, you can get a Chinese supplier, so from China to customer straight away. But in this, instead of having from China straight to the customer, you have China customizes and then sends it to and then sends it to your customer. So instead of with drop shipping, you just send the same product directly from China to the customer. With this business model, the person in China will customize it. So add the custom engraving, add the print onto the t-shirt, whatever, and then they send it to the customer. So that's a way which you can outsource it in, so you don't have to handle things yourself. What's the difference between the 2? So doing it yourself is going to take more time. It's also more expensive, but much cheaper long term. So it's expensive because the machines you have to buy, most of them aren't cheap. I think my cheapest one probably is 400 that I have in my bedroom at the moment. I have quite a few machines. My cheapest £400, and my most expensive is over 1,000 but under 2, so that's your ballpark. And yeah, so you can do things yourself, but it's going to make it a lot cheaper if you do things yourself, because these people in China, they're going to charge a massive fee to upsell. So me myself, I calculated it. If I wanted to buy a screen printer for a t-shirt, there's a company called Printify, which you can use as your essentially outsourced supplier. So Printify is a very good outsourced supplier. They do a bunch of the basic home goods stuff and t-shirts and clothing. So if I wanted to buy a t-shirt from Printify with a custom print on it, it would cost around £12. That's including shipping it to the customer. And I calculated if I wanted to make it myself, if I bought like the printing equipment to print the items onto the t-shirt, buy the t-shirt and ship it, the total cost for me would come out to somewhere between £4 and £5. So Printify is essentially charging double of what I could make the product for. So that's one of the cons of outsourcing. So it's more expensive over the long term. But of course, I would suggest if you are new to the platform, just outsource your stuff. If you're new to Etsy, you want to start selling on Etsy, just outsource everything, because it's going to be very expensive if you're brand new to the platform, you don't really have an understanding for it yet, and then you start buying these machines which are like £500-600 each, and then there you go, you bought a bunch of machines that aren't actually useful to you at all. Instead, you can just outsource it from the person in China, and they can do all the hard work for you. All you got to do is just worry about creating good products which are going to sell and make you money. Of course, with outsourcing, you can still make a lot of money. I know a lot of people. There's one guy in my group, and he makes a lot of money, like 50,000 a month. And he outsources everything. He doesn't actually do any of it in-house. I tell him sometimes, and I'm like, why don't you just do it in-house? Why don't you just employ 2 people to just get the machines, employ 2 people, and then get them to ship it out for you? And he's like, I don't want to do that. I want to focus on scaling. But anyway, silly guy, should definitely do it in-house. But this is the 2 ways to do print on demand. So you can either outsource or do it in-house. If you want to outsource, One of the best companies is Printify. There's also a company called Printful. And furthermore, if you want the best supplier for custom goods items, there is a supplier who's in my group, and he's a very, very good supplier. He sells a bunch of different customized items. And if you want access to that, just join the Discord group. I'll link it below. One of the greatest suppliers I've ever known to man. So anyway, let's move on. What is the next question? So far, what have we covered? We've covered all the basics of Etsy essentially. Now we're getting onto the more complicated stuff. We covered what is the Etsy platform, what's the demographic, Etsy versus Shopify, what do I sell on. We've also covered dropshipping versus POD, and that's why I recommend POD as well. So let's just touch on that a little bit. So POD versus dropshipping. Simply put, dropshipping will get you banned on Etsy. It is not that great for the long term. POD will not get you banned as long as you're selling within the terms of service and you're not a terrible seller. So I always say this, if you're selling items and you're dispatching them 20 days after the customer's ordered it, then you're probably going to get banned for that as well, even if you're doing print on demand. With print on demand, you're not just invincible on Etsy, you still have to be a good seller and dispatch the items on time, provide good products, etc, etc. So I do recommend everyone does print on demand instead of dropshipping now on Etsy. Even though dropshipping is probably a little bit easier to generate cash with straight away, if you do Etsy dropshipping for 6 months versus Etsy print on demand for 6 months, I do believe that you're going to make more money from actually doing print on demand than you would if you were to do Etsy dropshipping on the platform. And definitely compared to any other platform like Shopify, with Shopify you're probably going to burn through a lot of money on the ads, whereas on Etsy you don't need to spend money on the ads at all. When I started Etsy, I literally spent £0. No joke, this might sound crazy because people think, I get a bunch of messages saying, hey Ed, I've got £10,000 to start up with, is this enough money to start? And I'm like, yeah, your mentality is completely wrong because with Etsy you don't need to spend any money at all to get started. Although I think they're charging an $11 startup fee for a shop now, but $11 isn't much of a cost at all, and it's a one-time fee as well. It's not like a monthly recurring thing. So it's basically free to get started on the platform. No, you don't have to spend a bunch of money on ads. No, you don't have to spend a bunch of money getting the products in. You can do everything online. All I would recommend, you don't have to, but I would recommend you get a Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop subscription, because that is probably the best platform that I've used, and it's probably the highest ROI thing I've ever bought in my life. Okay, so it turns out my phone ran out of storage, and now we've got to film the whole thing again. But anyway, we lost 30 minutes of footage. I'm checking if it's still recording. We're going to start talking again. So we basically got up to everything like Etsy versus Shopify. I broke down how to actually source products, what products to sell on the platform. Everything like that's already been done. So what we're going to go through now is my print on demand strategy. So this is where the real value comes in. So if you want to start taking notes, start taking your notes, because this is actually my strategy. This is nothing in between. This is how I sell on the platform, broken down, put into simple terms, and how I make money, basically. So what is my POD strategy? Let's break it down. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible because the stuff I do is incredibly long-winded if I want to explain fully how I do everything. So first things first, find winning product. That's the first thing that I do, /niche. So this is the first thing that I do. When I'm starting a POD store, I have a few stores at the moment. I'm partnered on about, if you don't know the numbers, at the time of recording, I'm going to have more soon, but I have 4 stores at the moment, 4 active stores. I have about 10 that I'm in partnership with, and then I have about 6 that I'm ready to create. It's just getting the time around to actually make the stores. So if I'm going to make a new store, then what I will need to do is I need to find winning products or a winning niche. So I find winning products or a winning niche. What is a winning product, first of all? A winning product is essentially a product which makes money on the platform, product which makes a lot of money on the platform, a product which I would sell. And how do you identify winning products, first of all? So what would class as a winning product? What I suggest for you guys is that you sell products only that sell 10 times per month. How do you actually tell if a store's making 10 sales per month? So let's use, for example, we talked about a wooden spoon store earlier. Wooden spoon. This store has 10,000 sales. What does that actually mean? 10,000 sales doesn't mean anything by itself. It's got 10,000 sales, but it has a total of 3,000 reviews on the store. So that basically tells you it's got 10,000 sales, 3,000 reviews, which tells you for every 3 sales, they get 1 review. Or every 10 sales, they get 3 reviews. So 10 sales equals 3 reviews. And why is this important? Because the reviews, what you can tell by the reviews, you can see how many reviews there were in the past month. So what I always do to calculate the store's revenue is I look at the reviews in the past month. Let's say, for example, this store was 10,000 sales, 3,000 reviews in total. This store has made 1,000 reviews in the past month, which means, because you times it by 3, because there's 3 to 10, obviously 3.33, whatever, if you want to be specific, go for it, I don't really care that much. If it has 1,000 reviews in the past month, that basically means it's made 3,000 sales in the past month. So obviously 3,000 sales, then what you can do with that 3,000 is you can times it by their average order value. So that is the average price of their products. So what you need to do is you need to sort the Etsy store listings by most recent. It will automatically show sort by relevance. You need to change that to most recent. Have a look at the top 4 listings. Maybe one's 20, 30, 25, 22. Basically what that tells you is that the average order value is £22 if there were the prices that I just said. So let's just say their AOV, average order value, is £22 and they're making 3,000 sales a month. So what you got to do is times that 3,000 by 22, which tells you they're making 66,000 per month, I think, somewhere around there anyway. It doesn't have to be specific. That's a rough number. And I'm pretty sure that Spoon Store is making that much money, but that just shows you how to make the calculation. So breaking it down really simple, you see the sales and the reviews, and then you divide the sales by the reviews, and that gives you a multiplier, which you take the reviews in the past month, and then you times the reviews in the past month by that multiplier to get how many sales that they made in the past month. Incredibly accurate method, no one talked about this at all. So, 10 sales per month. I only suggest you sell items with a total of 10 sales per month. At least. I ideally sell products which are higher volume, but as a beginner it's perfectly fine to start selling items which only sell 10 times per month. What I would suggest you do, however, is look for the competition. You need to find how many other competitors are selling the exact same products. So if, for example, you see an item which is making 10 sales per month, roughly, so for a store which has a 3 multiplier, it'd be 3 reviews in the past month, or 3 or 4 reviews, and then you could say it's making 10 sales per month. But look at the competition. Is it super high? If they have five other sellers selling the exact same product, then you could probably say, okay, this is fairly low competition. But if you search for the product name, let's just say wooden spoon with celebrity on it, and it has 300 other sellers selling the exact same product, then it's probably not a good idea to sell that product. So always look at the competition. That's the second and most important thing behind the demand. So that brings me on to the second thing that you need to look for in my POD strategy, which is competition. So find winning products, and then you check the competition. Simple as. So point number 1, find the winning products. Once you found the winning products, you check the competition. Is the competition too high? If it's too high, you don't sell it. And then number 3, I don't even know what comes after that. It's basically the strategy broken down. Really simple terms. Find winning product, check the competition. If the competition is low and the demand is high enough, then you can sell within that niche. But let's talk about niche as well, because that's very important. How do you actually know what a niche is? What is a niche on the platform? Because you need to be able to find niches, you need to be able to identify them on the platform as well, and so you can actually make money. So what is a niche? A niche is basically a specific type of products, a specific group, and with print on demand, this can be categorized into 2 ways. It can either be the group of products which the designs are put onto, or it can be the group of it can be the designs that can be niched, or it can be the actual physical products themselves which can be niched. 2 different types, and I would always suggest doing either one, but just stick to one, don't stick to both. So it's very complicated to get your head around this if you're new to the platform, but simply put, you niche your store based on the products that you put your designs onto, and then second thing is you niche your store based on the actual designs themselves. So let's use 2 examples for each one. So example one of niching your store. You're niching your store based on the product which you're putting your design onto, which would be, for example, a phone case, and you're just putting a bunch of different random designs onto a phone case. All your store's niched on is the phone case. Strategy number 2 is where you're niching based on the designs. You could use phone cases, you could use t-shirts, bunch of different things, bags, I don't know, other accessories, doesn't really matter too much. This is just random examples, but you're using the same style of design. So it could be a store which is niched specifically for I don't know, mums or dogs or pets or animals, anything like that. And then you're only putting designs which are related to these products about dogs or whatever, like that's your design niche. So if your store's niched on design, then you sell a bunch of different random products and just put similar designs onto each one. If your store is niched on the actual physical product itself, then you use the same product, for example, the phone case, and you can put a bunch of random different designs onto it. Obviously, it doesn't have to be super strict with this one. You can use a couple of different designs of phone case. However, I would suggest you stick to one strategy of these two when you're doing print on demand. Don't do both. Don't mix them on the same store. If you want to sell like a different product, create a new store. But to be honest, when you're new on the platform, if you're just starting up, if it's a new store, it's fine to have your store a little bit all over the place. But when you get later along the line, you definitely need to pick one of these, pick the most successful one and stick to it. But when you're starting a store, it's fine to have it a little bit all over the place. Okay, so that's my POD strategy, very simply broken down. It is just finding winning products, check the competition. If the competition is low enough, then you can sell those products. This doesn't come easy. This will take hours. It sounds very easy when I'm just saying this right here and now. All you got to do is just find a winning product, right? It's very difficult. It takes a lot of time, a lot of hours scrolling on the platform to actually find a product which is low competition that you have confidence in and that you can sell. So this isn't easy. It does take a lot of time. My full POD strategy is linked in my group below. And if you did want to join that, then click the top link in the description. My full POD strategy is incredibly complicated. It's a lot more complicated than this. There's a lot more things that go into it because this is a very more simplified version. And if you do want to know the full thing, to be honest, if you are brand new to the platform, you're brand new to making money online, then this is the business model, or this is the POD strategy which you should be following. You shouldn't be doing much else because it's just going to overcomplicate you and you're going to get very confused in your brain. So follow this strategy if you're new. If you're not new and you've been doing online money for a little bit of time, if you've been doing Etsy for a little bit of time, join my group and then check the strategy in there because that's a lot more complicated and it will probably be a little bit better for you if you've got some experience at least. So we've talked about how to calculate demand. We talked about the POD strategy that I use. We talked about sourcing and making products. The last thing that we need to talk about is making your listings. So once you've found the winning products, how do you actually create the listings? What's important when you're creating a listing? First things first, images. By far number one most important thing. You can have a one-word title, you can have a one-word description, you can have no tags on your listing, and it will still make sales if the images are good. So there's a couple components which we need to look at here when you're creating a listing. So images, then I'd say second most important thing is your title. Third most important thing is your description, and then after that comes everything else. So it's like tags, you've got the potential variants that you might have, depends on the products of course, but everything else, blah blah blah, at the bottom. Number one, images. How do you get good images? What I always do, I buy my products myself and then I take the images, and because of the POD strategy that I'm using, I could just basically Photoshop different designs onto that product. This would be called a mock-up, and I create my own mock-ups. I don't buy them from places online. If you are doing this, you're buying them from, if you even just download a free mock-up, that does put your Etsy store at risk because of the handmade policy violations. It is a risk that I would not be willing to take. All I would do is I just learn Photoshop. I just learn the basic skills of Photoshop, learn how to Photoshop certain designs onto this product, and then do that, and then you can still outsource it. Even if you buy the product yourself, all that's for is just to take the images. It still means you can outsource. It doesn't mean you have to buy the products yourself and actually make them. So, images, Photoshop with mock-ups. Simple as. Get good Photoshop skills, practice on Photoshop a few hours a day, and just get really good at it because it's going to save you so much time when you need to create listings. You'll just be pumping them out like that. Be really quick, way more efficient if you learn Photoshop, and don't cheap out. This is literally, I don't know, like £13 a month. Don't use Canva, it's terrible. Don't use Photopea, it's terrible. Any other platform is absolutely terrible compared to this. This will save you so much time and make you a lot more money than if you use one of those terrible cheap alternatives. Title. What's the title? So this is basically what identifies your listing. Is the listing, I don't know, is it a frog? Is it a cat? Is it a dog accessory? It's basically going to tell the customer what is your listing. What the title also does is it helps to rank your product. So it helps to get your product showing up in the correct search. So let's just say a customer, for example, searches for dog bracelet. You don't want your listing to be showing up in dog bracelet when you're selling a Lamborghini Huracan. This would not make any sense. Obviously, you can't sell Lamborghini Huracans on the platform, but you can try. Probably won't last very long. And the maximum listing price is 40,000, so you're going to sell a serious negative on a Lamborghini Huracan. But anyway, my point is that you need to have your title related to the products you're actually selling. What a lot of people do is, even if they're selling a dog bracelet, what they'll do is they'll put dog, cat, animal, pet, and what I would suggest you do is not that, because that's too general. And what Etsy does, it actually starts ranking your listing higher and higher in the search when a higher percentage of customers click through your listing from the search. And lovely, we're still going. So you don't want your listing showing up in the cat niche when you're selling a dog product, because that's not going to get you any clicks, and it's going to make your listing rank down. It's going to make your listing rank further down than go further up. So what I suggest you do is use very similar key terms to what the items you're selling. So let's say you're selling dog bracelet. In your title, you should use dog, dog bracelet, necklace, present, gift, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really matter. As long as it's related to dog, it's not related to cat, because if someone's specifically searching cat bracelet, then they want a cat bracelet. You should really just double down on the searches, on the key terms that you need to use of the actual product itself. Don't stray out. Don't, if you're selling dog, don't sell for cats, etc. That should make sense, but the title really isn't too important. So let's go through it again. So Photoshop for the images. For title, what you can do is just use your brain and go to a competitor's listing, and then sell similar item. No, I forgot what I was doing there. Go to a competitor's listing and copy their title, or just copy some of the key terms that they're using for their title. You think that's good, then you can always take inspiration from their titles. I don't suggest you just copy paste their titles. If you are going to do that, at least change the order a little bit, change the words around so it doesn't look like you've literally just ripped their title. Description. So for descriptions, there's a standard format which I use to create my descriptions. The format is first line, so sentence. Line 1 is description / sell. So in the first line of your description, you need to describe what the product is and how it's going to help the customer. Selling is telling the customer how you're going to help them, how this product is going to benefit them. Mostly on Etsy, they're buying out of insecurity, and this is something which is very powerful for you to know. You need to know that everyone on Etsy essentially is buying something out of insecurity, especially for the home decor, home goods niche, because they're buying something to improve their house, mainly because of what other people would think about it. Realistically, if someone lived by themselves and they had no one coming to the house all of the time, they wouldn't really care enough to decorate their own home. They're literally doing it out of insecurity, so that's why you need to sell it in the first line of the description. You tell them how good this is going to look and how their visitors are going to feel when they see this item in their home, or something along those lines. So you sell to the insecurities, especially for the home goods, and even with something like clothing as well, you can do the exact same thing. That's line number 1. Shouldn't be long, should just be one sentence. Just describe the item, what is the item, and then why does the customer need it. Line number 2 is, or this is just the second section really, it's not line number 2. Here's what you do is you just sell details, so like dimensions, colors, etc. All the details of the product, all the information, the weight, anything that's important that the customer needs to know, size guides, should be in the second part of the description. And then third part is the final close, where you say contact plus lovely message. So basically you say on the final line, you say, I really hope, thank you for reading this far down the description. I really hope you like the product. If you do have any questions about it, just please message me. That's what you put at the bottom line of every single description. What you can also add in here as well, in like line 2.5, let's say, you can add a little bit of just waffle BS about your product. So you can just say, about your store even. So beneath the details in the description, you can say, hey, this is our store. We've been open since 2015 or whatever. Family of 4, family-run business based out of Milton Keynes, England. That's what you could say. But doesn't have to be included. This is the most important thing, is descriptions I sell in the first line, product details, and then contact plus lovely final message. And so that's for the description. And then the tags is basically the same as the title, so just use the keywords from the title. Summarized in the tags of your listing, it's kind of as important as your title in making it rank in the right places and the right searches. Variants is pretty standard, to be honest, so I don't need to talk about variants. If your product has a variant in terms of colour, just add the variant. Make sure you've got the images matching. And if it has a variant in size, make sure you've got a size guide on there as well, and the images. So very basic things like this. And that is essentially it. I think that is everything covered. This is a very, very basic rundown in about an hour of everything I do, how I make money online, and the business model that I do, the business models that I've done before. We talked a lot. So if you do want to learn more, this is a very basic rundown. There's a lot that I could say. I could make this easily last 24 hours at least, when me just talking about the business model. But I don't fancy doing that. I don't think anyone would watch the whole thing. But if you do want to join, if you do want to learn more, join the course, not the course, join the group. Join the group below. It's Discord. They're right here. It's free, of course. It's free, of course, and you don't have to pay anything to join. So click the link in the description. There's 4,000 other people who are learning about sustainable Etsy selling in the group. And yeah, any questions? If you have any questions, drop them in the comments or just message me on Discord as well. Either one works. I'm more than happy to answer your questions about the business model. However, 4,000 other people in here, and a bunch of people are going to be happy to answer your questions. Like, everyone's helping each other out in there. It's a great community which we're building. And yeah, so give me a message if you're interested, or if you want any questions at all, and join the Discord. Of course, it's the best place to be if you want to learn about this business model. There's literally no better place to be to learn about sustainable Etsy selling or Etsy print on demand. So make sure you join the group below, and we'll see you in another video.